The first time he stood at the rusted gate of the ranch, the wind cut through him like a reminder of every mistake he had ever made. The land stretched endlessly, dry and silent, as if it had been forgotten by time itself. People said nothing good could come from a place this abandoned. They said only a desperate man would buy land no one else wanted. What they didn't know was that desperation was exactly what had brought him here, and that somewhere beneath this cracked earth, something powerful was waiting to be discovered. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles that change lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to channel name. Your support keeps stories like this alive. He bought the ranch with money that barely felt like his anymore. The savings were scraped together from years of long nights, missed birthdays, and work that never seemed to pay back what it took. Once, he had a life that made sense. A small home. A family that laughed easily. A job that promised stability. Then one illness, followed by another, and a chain of losses that didn't stop just because he begged them to. By the time everything collapsed, the ranch appeared on a government listing like a final gamble. Deserted. Remote. No utilities worth mentioning. No guarantees. Just land and silence. When he arrived for good, the silence was louder than he expected. The ranch house leaned slightly, its paint peeled down to bare wood, its windows clouded with years of dust. The fences sagged like tired shoulders. The earth was cracked, the color of old bones. Neighbors were miles away, and the memory of human voices felt distant, almost unreal. At night, the sky opened wide with stars so sharp and bright they felt close enough to touch, but instead of comfort, they made him feel small. Alone. Exposed. Every morning, he worked the land with no real plan, just motion to keep his thoughts from turning dark. He repaired what he could with borrowed tools and scavenged wood. He learned to live with little water, little comfort, and even less certainty. Some days, he questioned everything. Why here? Why now? Why keep going when nothing seemed to grow? But quitting would mean admitting that every loss before this had been final, and he wasn't ready to believe that. The challenges came one by one, slow and relentless. The well barely worked, coughing up muddy water that smelled of rust. The soil rejected seeds like it had sworn never to give again. Machinery broke down faster than he could fix it. His hands hardened and cracked, his back ached constantly, and the nights grew colder. Letters from creditors still found their way to him, even out here, as if trouble could track him anywhere. More than once, he sat on the porch steps, staring at the horizon, wondering if he had made the worst decision of his life. What he didn't know was that far away, in an office filled with screens and quiet humming machines, someone was looking at his land from space. Satellite images, part of a routine geological survey, revealed something strange beneath the ranch. A shadow. Not visible to the naked eye, not something you could feel under your boots, but a pattern that experts recognized instantly. A dark, irregular bloom deep underground that suggested oil trapped beneath layers of rock, untouched and vast. The kind of discovery that usually came with excitement, phone calls, and corporate interest. But out on the ranch, life went on the same. He struggled through another dry season. He sold what little equipment he had left just to keep the lights on. The idea of leaving crept into his thoughts more often now, especially when loneliness pressed down on him harder than hunger. Still, something held him there. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe hope. Maybe the quiet feeling that the land hadn't shown him everything yet. The first sign that things were changing came not as good news, but as confusion. A letter arrived, official and carefully worded, asking about mineral rights. He read it over and over, certain there had been some mistake. The ranch had been dismissed as worthless for decades. That was why it had been cheap. That was why no one wanted it. He almost laughed at the idea that anyone would be interested now. More letters followed. Then calls. Each one chipped away at his disbelief and replaced it with cautious curiosity. He began to sense that something bigger was moving beneath the surface of his quiet life. Still, fear walked alongside hope. He had learned the hard way that good news often came with strings, and he didn't have the strength for another loss. As interest in the land grew, pressure followed. Offers were made quickly, some generous, others clearly designed to take advantage of a man who looked like he had nothing left. He felt overwhelmed, standing at the edge of decisions that could either save him or destroy him completely. For the first time in years, people spoke to him with respect, even urgency, but it felt unreal, like a story meant for someone else. In the middle of it all, he walked the ranch every evening, touching the ground, looking at the sky, trying to remember who he was before life had stripped him down to survival. This land had held him when nothing else did. It had forced him to slow down, to endure, to find dignity in effort even when there was no reward. The thought of losing it hurt more than he expected. When confirmation finally came that the satellite images were accurate, it felt less like triumph and more like release. Years of fear loosened their grip. The ranch that had been a symbol of failure transformed into proof that patience and persistence were not wasted. But the biggest change wasn't financial. It was internal. For the first time in a long while, he slept without the weight of regret pressing on his chest. He chose not to rush. Instead of selling everything immediately, he sought advice, learned the process, and protected himself from being swallowed by people who saw only profit. That decision surprised many and frustrated some, but it felt right. He had been powerless for too long to give away control now. Slowly, carefully, he built a future that honored both the struggle and the miracle. As work began on the land, the ranch changed. Roads were improved. Equipment arrived. Jobs were created, not just for outsiders, but for nearby communities that had also been forgotten. He watched people find work, stability, and pride because of something buried beneath the ground he once thought was dead. The land that had seemed cursed began to heal, and so did he. The old house was restored, not into something extravagant, but into a place of warmth and welcome. He planted trees not because he needed them, but because he wanted the land to remember life beyond extraction. Every improvement felt like an apology to the past and a promise to the future. In quiet moments, he reflected on how close he had come to walking away. How easily the story could have ended differently. The oil beneath the ranch didn't just change his bank account, it changed his understanding of timing, faith, and worth. Some things, he realized, remain hidden not because they don't exist, but because we aren't ready for them yet.